Now that Hanukkah is over, I just wanted to share a few thoughts that have been kind of running through my mind and my heart as we move through these last few parshiot of the book of Bereshit, Genesis. Every year I find myself drawn in by these last few parshiot that tell the story of Joseph and his reunion and reconciling with his brothers. It's such a deeply complex psychological and emotional story. And these last few parshiot, last week's Miketz, and coming up to Vayigash and Vayechi, and these are parshiot where the Torah really slows down and tells the moment by moment steps along the way in this narrative, the moment by moment interactions of a family trying to find their way towards repair and healing. And if we remember, it's a story that begins in so much hostility and trauma and rupture, with a father who is deceived and brothers torn apart. And one brother, Joseph, being sold into servitude and passed off as dead to the father, Jacob. And these final chapters of Bereshit tell that story in a detailed way, much more detailed than most parts of the Torah, of how this broken family comes together and finds their way through, both to themselves as individuals and to one another. And interestingly, the setting of the story is one of famine, Ra'av. And really, I think we can understand that this is not just a physical famine, this is a spiritual and emotional famine. This is the setting in which we come to watch this broken family find their way to each other. It's a setting of scarcity and lack and desperation, really. We see that often in the Torah in this section. And the brothers come down to Egypt to find food because of this famine. They're looking for sustenance. And in order to do that, they have to make themselves vulnerable. They have to reveal that they are lacking, that they are hungry, that they need food, right? That they have a need for something that's missing. So they really have to get vulnerable. They have to acknowledge their needs and their lacks in real ways. And we won't go into all of the details, but if you look back at some of the texts, we know that when Joseph first sees them, he recognizes his brothers, that these are the ones who did such a horrible thing to him. But he makes himself like a stranger in the beginning. He protects himself. He doesn't let them know that he knows who they are. He kind of holds his armor over his heart and assumes this leadership role and doesn't disclose his identity. And we really see the text in a very detailed way paints a vivid and complex psychological portrait of inner struggle for Joseph, of Joseph trying to figure out how to approach them, whether to come close and to reveal himself or to keep a distance, to let down his guard or to keep the armor up. And after verses and verses that go back and forth in a dramatic way, we come to this point where Joseph finally cracks and the wall comes down, the emotional and psychological wall comes down, and he finally allows himself to reveal his true identity to his brothers, to get vulnerable and real and to show his pain. And there's these two very powerful verses, psukim, where it says, "Velo yachol Yosef lihit apek lechol hanitzavim alav." Joseph could no longer control himself. So he asks all his attendants, his servants, to withdraw, to leave him. He's still afraid to show his emotion, his struggle in front of them. But when they all leave, it says, "Vayiten et kolo bivchi vayishmeu Mitzrayim." He started to cry. He let it all go, and he released all of the reservations he had about showing what he was really feeling. And his sobs were so loud that all of Egypt could hear. And this is really, I think, in the narrative, the decisive moment, because it's the beginning of the healing of this family. And what follows after this revelation, after this the crying and the end of the pretending that everything is okay, what follows is forgiveness, repair, reunion, of family members. And there's a letting go of certain parts of that pain from the past, and there's a coming closer of the family members. So we see repair begin to happen where there were so many years of brokenness in this family. And finally, they come to a place where there are blessings exchanged and final goodbyes. So there's just such a beautiful family arc told in these last few parshiot of what happens to this family. And why is this important? Why does Bereshit, why does Genesis end by giving so much time and so much space to detailing what's going on with this family? I really think that these final chapters of Bereshit signify the crucial transition from the story of a single family to the beginning of a story of a people, which will start in Exodus, in Shemot. It seems that the Torah really slows down over these last few parshiot to help us understand that the personal and intimate nature of the story, the healing, the vulnerability, the sharing of blessings, that all of these things are the critical ingredients that allows for this family to become something more whole, something larger, something more enduring, and to become a vessel that's capable of sustaining blessing and then sharing it and magnifying it to become the people of Israel, which will really begin in the next book, in Shemot. And every year I really find myself so moved by these final chapters at the close of Genesis, because they feel very real. These stories feel very real. The emotions are raw and vulnerable and honest. And I really feel like these stories offer us a template to follow as we think about how we personally move through pain, move through struggle, and try to heal our way through rupture and loss. And this year in particular, I've really been thinking about these stories through the lens of where we are and where we're moving towards, hopefully, as a community and as a world. The past almost 2 years have been years, we all know, of pain and loss, isolation and rupture, of really looking uncertainty and human vulnerability straight in the face. We've all been there together, and also in different ways we've experienced it. And I really have just been so steadied and grateful to have been guiding Orot at this juncture, and to be able to provide these continuing sources of healing and meaning and blessing to our community as we have moved through all of this together. I get emails almost every day from members of our learning and practice communities who share expressions of such real deep gratitude, who let me know that they feel held and seen and heard and held up, really, by all of the classes and meditation sits and programs that we offer at Orot, even though they've been virtual. They've been just as vital to so many people through the past 2 years, and sharing warmth and nourishment and really a place of refuge for people. And it has really just been such an honor and privilege to be able to open up these teachings and practices to the community as this rich well of blessing that we can all draw from and share. And I am grateful that Orot has been able to provide that for so many people during this past year and more. And so I just wanted to share some of these thoughts from the heart and from the mind as we look towards the end of 2021. We're getting ready to close out the year, and at Orot we have so many plans and dreams of how to continue to spread our programs and offerings to bring what we do best to more and more people, to enlarge the life raft that we've created so that more and more people can fit on it. And so I really want to ask all of you to consider giving to Orot and supporting us so that we can continue to grow and serve you. and build the community and enlarge upon it. And I also want to thank so many of you who have already supported Orot, and in so many ways, both financial and otherwise. We are sustained and nourished by all of you, and we are immensely grateful for your dedication, your devotion, and the ways in which you open yourselves to all of us at Orot continually. So much gratitude to all of you, and an invitation to those who have not yet had a chance to support the work that we do to do so before the end of the year. Thank you so much, and blessings to all of you.